Well, hi everybody, and happy Friday to everyone. This is Bob Ost. It's our Friday community gathering. Theater Resources Unlimited is very happy and honored to provide a place to go every Friday. Oh boy, somebody just came on. A place to go every Friday and get together and meet with other people in the community. Oh my goodness, we're up to 65 today. This is a very well attended day. Um, wow. I guess what we're talking about today is particularly important for people, and it is actually. So we do this basically because we want to have people feel less isolated during COVID. We want to give people an opportunity to get together, feel part of a community, and also maybe learn some things about how to create art during this period of pandemic that we're in. Um, I'm happy to say that, well, this is a pandemic that we just thought was never going to end, and it's just felt endless, and there's just been no answer in sight. So, what good news that we actually now have a vaccine that's not going to end the isolation. It's not going to end the social distancing. It's a beginning to the end. It's a pathway towards eventually being able to come out of this. Now, if only people in our wonderful country would take this more seriously and play by the rules that we all know will keep us all healthy. But in the meantime, at least there is a little spark of hope now. So happy Hanukkah, everyone, too. Um, we light our candles and we also look there for hope as well. Let's all be hopeful. Let's know now that this is going to end. This has a actual tangible ending in sight. And while we're here today, we're going to talk about how to create art, theater, activity, something that doesn't drive us crazy and stir crazy. So a way of not being stir crazy during this period of isolation. And I have three people on board today who I'm going to introduce you to, who are all tech experts, or they sure know a lot more than I do. And I'm happy to welcome them into the room. And I'm going to have them introduce themselves and tell you a little bit about who they are and what they do. Let's start with Daniel Abrahamson, the founder and chief technologist. There's my word. I've been searching for this word, a technologist.
That's what we're supposed to be called now, is technologist. It's like an artist that kind of has transitioned to technology and makes art with technology. I don't know. It's a 3-month-old position, and I'm the chief one, though.
I have to thank you. I've been looking for this word for so long. So we now have three technologists with us today. For those of you that are thinking about creating any kind of virtual theater experience and don't know what you can and can't do, we're all kind of figuring it out. So so Daniel, thank you for the word.
I'm realizing that was not coined by theater artists, but we are appropriating it like we often do.
So tell us just a little bit about, give us a 1 minute overview of Stream Stage and what you do and what you offer, and then we'll come back and we'll explore the details of what each of you do.
Sure. Stream Stage is a theater technology company, so we do shows, services, and support to get different theater companies back in front of their audiences in this time. We started in August, and we've had 25 partners so far across 20 productions since August. We've done multi-camera live streamed concerts. We've done virtual musicals. We've worked a lot with youth, 2 colleges and 2 other youth groups, so over 100 students, which has allowed us to, I think, pioneer a lot of cool technology. You can never be too sure until you kind of watch other people doing it. But our passion is bringing artists live again.
Yes, we love live artists. It's so much better than the alternative.
Yeah.
Iben Cenholt, introduce yourself and a little bit about your company, like a 1 minute pressy.
Hi, I'm Iben Cenholt. I'm the co-founder of RuneFilms. We are based in Connecticut. We have a history of probably 8 to 10 years of trying to assist our local theater scene. Some people in New York and some people at the O'Neill Center as well. We have transitioned into, okay, it's all digital now. So it's really about making sure that you get back in touch with what is possible. I was explaining to Elwin the other week that one of the things that we as technologists do is that we know theater, but we also know how to get the technology to do what you want it to do. Because coming from theater, you know you can't do real life on theater. The same thing with technology. You can't do real life, but we can definitely make some things happen that sometimes is not known or in the mind of the director and the other creative people that want to actually do the performances.
And we're going to come back and we're going to talk a little bit more. We're going to get a little bit more into the weeds about the specific things that are possible and maybe things that are not possible in virtual performance. What's not possible is to really recreate the feeling of a live theater performance. They're just things that can't be done. But we have to embrace this for what it is. Henry Garrou, so introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your company.
So Henry Garrou here, but I'm changing my name to TCAT as soon as possible. That's the coolest name. I'm a post-production animator, compositor, editor, and generally post-production. Just you have to wear a few hats. And produce, I guess we're listing clients. I just got back the Super Bowl. This will be my 4th spin with the Super Bowl. I got the 2020 Olympics in Beijing, so this is my 3rd Olympics. Unless you count the Arab Olympics, that makes 4. And then, yes, they have 1. And, tons of stuff. A Kentucky Derby, I've done that maybe 12 years running, 10 years running, somewhere in that realm. And a lot of television. You see my work. It's a logo in a corner. You know, it can be more, it can be less. It's whatever I get hired for. But the crossover to theater happened through my wife, who's directing, and video, obviously, and theater are not new to each other. A lot of great plays. I saw Jersey Boys and just really enjoyed what they did with that, especially how they did it live. I don't know if you saw, but they mirrored on television what they were shooting in their studio on stage, and it was really cool. And just to get more than one point of view from my seat, I felt like I got my money's worth. But the video in general, I was pulled in to do Jungle Book and did a lot of video backgrounds for that. And then again for Alice, we used to fall down a rabbit hole and a few other things and set scenes. And so it's interesting to see now theater come to video. Now that video's come to theater some time ago, and now it's time for a little help in the other direction.
There's a lot to talk about here. My goodness, how do we unwrap this all? I want to actually start with Daniel, and I want to talk about your platform because you're the only person who actually has a platform, so that's unique to you and what you offer. So tell us a little bit about how your platform works and how you also incorporate other technologist services into your platform.
So yeah, like we're a bit of a one-stop shop. So people come to us and they want to do a show, they want to do a fundraiser, they want to do a Zoom play reading, and we can kind of take them from the idea of like, here's who I want to be in it, and here's my creative team, to the capture, to the editing, and hopefully live broadcast, integrating live elements. Right through to our own channel that we broadcast on and ticket with using other services, and just kind of like from conception to the end point. And you know, we have ended up in doing a lot of post-production. I love people like Henry who do this all the time. Like, I just can't wait to show you our post-production because you're gonna laugh, but we're really proud of it. And in the theater world, like, we've kind of taught ourselves and brought people on to kind of make this hybrid of like theater and film, where as much live as possible. So anyways, yeah, our platform, Stream Stage, you can broadcast a show that you've already made, and we can broadcast it for you. Or we can design your broadcast, or we can produce your piece with you right into the live broadcast, whether that's a video on demand or something that's truly being created live in the moment.
So I have a question for you about the combination of live and pre-recorded.
Mm-hmm.
One second. Live. If I come to you with a in order to effectively and smoothly do something that consists of content that is both live and pre-recorded, we need somebody, a technical person, a technologist, who actually can run the performance. That means he's basically calling the cues like a stage manager would in real theater. Can you talk a little bit about that and how that works?
Yeah, I'd love to. It's really cool. So I trained as an actor, musical theater actor, composer. I love that. There you go. Composer, music director, and then yeah, we kind of become like a live producer, stage manager. So we do a lot with video conferencing like Zoom, and we have on one screen everybody on Zoom, and then we have on another screen the broadcast, and then it's all about that beautiful seamless integration. I'd love to show you like a super quick example of that since you're asking about it, or do you want me
I
to
will.
wait?
We're going to get to it in a second because I have another question about that.
But yes, a live integration requires a live producer, and stage managers make great live producers. It's a lot of stage managers I know have made the transition to do that, but there's a lot of knowledge to catch up on that is totally available to those people looking to do that.
Is it fair to say that it's essential to have somebody doing that in something that's a combination? If not as essential if you have something that's pure live or pure pre-recorded, but it's always good to have somebody who can run the show and can call the show really. So yeah, how do I let me see if I can how I can phrase this. I've been told by others, and you just contradicted this. I've been told that Zoom is not the ideal platform for doing a combination of live and pre-recorded. My understanding is that, and you'll contradict me. This is so we can have a conversation. I can say something you can disagree with. I was told that basically it's not as smooth because I'm probably wrong, so you can tell me immediately. I think that the way the pre-recorded stuff is integrated into the show is through screen share, somebody told me. So if that's wrong, then correct me.
I think Iben wants to jump in on that. Sorry,
Iben,
am I pronouncing that right? Iben?
Iben.
It's Iben, yes. I think it depends. I mean, yes, you can do that, but it's not the best use of the technology. It would be a lot easier to have it, say, already recorded and edited and uploaded onto a platform like YouTube, where you would then integrate it and you would switch over.
Okay, so if we're using Zoom for the live portion, then we're actually using the streaming platform to project the pre-recorded content. Is that correct?
Yes, if by streaming platform you mean any platform, it could be Facebook Live, it could be Instagram Live, whatever you want to use.
It's helpful to think of live production as you have a platform is a good word for it. It's kind of like the endpoint, the destination. So like Showtix for You is a destination. They just resell a Vimeo channel, right? So Vimeo, YouTube, Facebook, those are like endpoints. Then there's like the kind of broadcast nerve center hub, which is kind of like creating the broadcast. And then you can plug into that nerve center hub any video conferencing platform that your clients, your performers are kind of comfortable with. So I've tried them all, Skype, NDI. I don't know, Henry, if you've mucked around with that at all.
I'm happy at Zoom these days.
Yeah, because and I've tried a lot of them. OBS Ninja, I've tried Microsoft Teams, I've tried all the different ones, and weirdly we just keep coming back to Zoom. People know how to use it. Everyone knows how to click on a Zoom link. Yes, it has annoying things like the boxes shift when somebody enters and exits. There's ways around that. The audio syncs nicely.
Teach me the ways around that, please. I could really need it.
100%. So we keep coming back to it because we find we work with like big groups and like big groups of students. Like some of them are 12 years old, some of them are 21, and we just need stuff that kind of like works right away that everyone knows how to use. So I'd rather figure out how to use those free, easy to use solutions than to like rely on what's the one for like vMix has like a remote caller thing, but everybody needs to pay for the client. Like I'm a big fan of free software and how to rig it up to get it working properly.
I have been told by people who apparently don't know anything that that StreamYard is better for musical creations than Zoom. That Zoom is very hard and very unfriendly for music. Correct me?
I actually think that it depends on what it is you're trying to do.
Well, if we're trying to do a trio, we're trying to sync three voices. Which I know that all three voices have to be pre-recorded, and then they have to be mixed in post production and editing. I understand that.
Okay, I have a really simple diagram that might be good to, and it's handmade, so.
I've got dueling screen shares. Oh boy, dueling screen shares.
No, but seriously, I just wanted to try and get everybody on the same page. And Daniel and Henry, please let me know if I've got this wrong. But I think this is probably very, very simple of way of looking at. Okay, this. So I'm going to try and share this one now.
There we go.
Okay.
Already.
So. This is the person, the you. You have a very tiny stream uploading to the cloud. You have lots of clouds, and some of them interact really well, some of them don't. And then when they come down to you, for instance, like what receiving Zoom, it's a much faster and
okay. So the first you is the person presenting the Zoom. The second you is the audience.
Could be, yes.
Oh no, the end. I'm sorry. The audience is at the end. I'm jumping ahead.
Yeah, but it could be also the talent, or it could be you trying to be the director for a play. And then what happened then is that once you've done your part, as in singing, or talking, you would then upload it. And there's a cloud up here that would then download it. But basically, what we're seeing is that we have small, thin pipes, and we have thicker pipes. Thin pipes again, and thicker pipes. So basically, the more people you have here in this section here, where you have you talent, the bigger chance you have for getting things out of sync. And I think that's really what people are annoyed about, is the getting out of sync. It's not necessarily the latency. Latency is from when you send something out until it's received. It's the lag between people trying to stack up and do the same thing at the same time. And now come my second really stupid little drawing.
I love your drawings.
Okay, is basically we have, if you look at the internet, we have, you might be going on wireless to the bigger service, but anything this is a pair of headphones. So anything that's not the headphones themselves that connects the two pieces is a service. And you only have so much control over when it's a service. And it could be a fat one, like you have, like Optimum and Verizon, or it could be a thinner one that connects those two if they're not connected. And so far, we only have mostly 4Gs out there. And that's the beauty and the frustrating part about the internet, is that things going from point A to point B have multiple ways of getting there, because it's like a neural network. And sometimes it would connect the fastest way from point A to point B, which is just straight like that. But other times, even though it's supposed to go exactly the same places, because it's built this way to make it strong, make it less easy, so you can't really interrupt it the same way. It will then just go maybe all across the world to get to your neighbor's house.
You're definitely onto it. And the secret to Zoom and others who have gotten it right, and it may be everyone now, is caching and buffering. And it happens in two places. On your way in, our cameras, our microphones, there's no latency for us to see ourselves or hear ourselves. And with a group of 50, what are we now? 60 people, right? We were actually having a
70.
conversation. Yeah, with nominal latency. How did that happen? All right, here's how that happens. My signal is sent up as best my connection can be made. And it's taken to the server, a server. We do have to all go to one place at one time where it's essentially mixed down. And a good example for this, if you were to double click on my picture while you're coming out of speaker view, the first 2 seconds, you get really shoddy resolution. And after a few seconds, all of a sudden I bring up a lot of clarity, and all of a sudden I look very clear again. And this is part of the secret. The amount of video you're getting from me is depicted by the amount of demand you have. If you have not soloed my video, then I'm a portion of a 1920 by 1080 screen, and we all are. And our audio is all mixed in together and then served back to us through our speaker as one mix. We're not getting 65 streams of audio. And the last thing that they do, well, I mentioned the first half, is to prioritize audio over video. And so when you get a lag, you drop a few frames while I'm sitting here twiddling my fingers, you really don't notice it so badly. But if my voice skips any beat, you notice it immediately, which is a rule of video in general. The audio, where the audio goes, the head will follow. So we then lastly,
Henry, I have a request. Somebody asked whether you could turn up your sound. You're a little softer.
That's right. Then there's the buffering. So once all of this is mixed down into something we can watch, and we're not all watching the same mix, but when it's buffered down into things that can be used, then it's served from places that don't have to be centralized. So it goes through different paths as it reaches us in different parts of America. And that bandwidth load is now divided, and you have that in your diagram quite well. As soon as it leaves a server that is compiling or processing our conversation, the bandwidth gets immensely wide because it leaves on their big pipes, their OC3s and even bigger. And it goes many, many different ways and comes together on many different, in many different houses all at the same time, theoretically. There's no way that I have to throw this in. This is completely out of sync. There's no way to have people sing live and stream and have it sync at this point in time until someone comes up with some SMPTE code that comes along with this and synchronizes us. It is not going to happen.
Hey, sorry, Henry, but that people are solving that problem, and
Thank God.
there are a number of providers for musical collaboration where you can get, you're right, you don't get the latency down to 0 milliseconds, but usually between like 15 and 40 milliseconds, which is about the same as like vocal slapback on delay. I've played in lots of remote jam rooms with musicians across the country. And when we do our musicals, one of the services that we provide to the colleges is a low latency musical collaboration server. And it's magical to like log onto that server and hear 40 people singing Wonderful Town all together. And you're right, it's crazy complicated. I didn't write the software. Jack Tripp is one of the providers, Jessica. The one that we use is called Jamulus. And it's a nice kind of midpoint where it's like, it's not the most user-friendly thing in the world, but I have successfully set up over 100 people on it, and Jamulus, I'll put it in there.
Okay, I'm gonna jump in on user-friendly. A lot of the conversation right now, I think, is over the heads of a lot of the people that are here. So can we try to keep this at a level, or try to, if you blithely include some sort of technical something, sure. could you take the trouble to actually explain how that would work? We're looking at this. I want this to be a practical discussion. I want the people in the room to have some idea of how to do what they need to do in order to make everything happen, other than hire you. Of course, we want to hire somebody who is really a technologist. I love it, but we need to know what our steps are in order to be prepared to bring you in and have everything that you need in order to do what you need to do.
100%. Like we do a lot of consulting, we do a lot of producing, and just kind of taking people kind of like through these steps. That's my biggest advice too, is just don't go it alone. There's lots of people like the people talking here right now, and lots of others who like are practicing this. It's a new genre, it's a new medium, and you can everyone's really smart today, and you can spend the time and you can look on YouTube and you can Google everything you need and you can totally figure it out. Or you can focus on your show, and you can focus on selling your show, and you can focus on rehearsing your show, and you can work with people who kind of know how to, who have experience in doing this kind of stuff. And like, you know, Henry sounds like somebody, and even who like maybe went to school for this and learned, like we've just learned by doing it, like over this period of time. And so there's a lot of great free tools that you can totally learn how to use, but people inevitably, even if I tell them every trick in the book that we use, they still come back and go like, you know what, I just want to focus on writing my show or producing my show and selling my show and getting interest. And I want to have this kind of as more of a deliverable. So I guess,
I want to come back to something you said to make sure that we're understanding this. You were saying that there is the possibility of doing live musical performance with more than one voice or more than one instrument, and the lag, not the latency. Wait, is it the latency or the lag?
Same thing, yeah.
Well, it's a little different, I think, but it's so small. You said 15 to 40, whatever, micro whoosies.
Or
so,
six. Yeah.
So 15 to 40 of those little things, so that you can't really tell. It's not glaring that people are not necessarily synced. So go back to that. Is this a software, or is this something that is available to us, or is this something very rare that you have to be very lucky to be able to find?
No, there's a mix of broadcasting software. Here's some ones that we've used. One's called vMix. One's called Streamlabs OBS.
OBS is one of the things I was going to ask you about. All right.
Yeah, one's called Wirecast. And these are all things that you use to kind of build your broadcasts.
But this is broadcast. I mean, are we, again, I want to make sure we're talking about right now in this moment, we're talking about live presentation, live performance of music.
Live broadcast.
That's called a broadcast.
Yeah, a broadcast is just like you're sending a signal out, like a video and audio synced signal out. And a broadcast can include pre-recorded elements, and it can record live elements. And this is like, it's okay that this is confusing. This is like a large part of the conversation we have with people on their projects is like, okay, what's live, what's pre-recorded? And my favorite projects are the ones where you mix both and the audience forgets. And they forget if it's live or pre-recorded, and they feel like the whole thing is like theater. Those are my favorite ones. Although some stuff you want to just build a 70-minute video, but you still broadcast that video if you're going to do a live stream, or you can upload that to a channel and it can be just watched at any time. That's called a video on demand, or a VOD. And so a place like Showtix for you, you can do it as a broadcast where like they'll broadcast it in real time, or they'll screen a VOD where you just upload the video file and people can watch it for any period on demand at their choice. Everything on Netflix is on demand, but a hockey game is a broadcast.
Let me ask you a practical question.
Yeah.
In terms of the how complicated it is and how expensive it is, should we all be thinking in terms of finding ways to do multiple voices in a live broadcast, or are we better off just sticking to the thing that most of us know to do, which is to
I would love to get first on that one.
What was
I would
that?
love to go first on that one.
Okay.
I think it's
to finish the question, or record separate tracks and then have them edited together in post production, which also means that you can also edit the position of the film of the visual image and coordinate that if you need to.
Post production may give you the ability to have set extension and have the benefits, which is, you know, have a set again behind your people. It can give you some visual benefits, but theater, you know, is live. There's a moment and there's the energy in the room that's undeniable. I mean, it literally is what you pay for. Why would you strive for anything else?
100%. And we have some people who come to us and they just go, I want to make a video, and we push them a lot to go, what elements of this can be done live. And a lot of people make decisions about what should be live and what should be pre-recorded before talking to a technologist who might be able to be like, you can do that live. And like, I'm sure all the editors like Henry want, big editing jobs and lots of post-production and whatever. And we do that as well. But there's something different about capturing it live, and it's cheaper and it's more fun. And so
live is cheaper. Okay, this goes back to my original
Yes.
question. So doing it live is cheaper,
Yeah.
assuming that you have access to the software that's needed.
Yes, everybody has access to the software, but like some people are saying they've tried out Streamlabs OBS and vMix and Wirecast, and you can learn it. Like, we learned it. Like, you can learn it. It's not, the knowledge is free and available. Just, don't go it alone. I would love to show just a couple of examples of mixing between pre-recorded and live, if that's okay. It will just
absolutely.
Yeah.
It's time for the screen. I told you, like, we had dueling screen shares before, but even did hers, and now it's time for yours. Even may have others. I don't know. We'll see. Screen share is great. I love screen share.
I'm not going to screen share because screen sharing, as everybody knows, introduces a lot of dropped frames and latency and lag. So I'm actually going to do a little broadcast into my video panel here.
In that case, everybody should put it on speaker view.
Sure,
right?
You can put it on speaker view, yeah.
So everybody should be on speaker view for this.
I just want to show you a little bit of these production numbers. So just nod your heads if you can hear it. Thank you.
You don't say. Well, why don't you just slime back into your mud hole, you backstabbing worm?
So that's kind of like our cut point that we created to get us into a video. And then once you're in a video, you can do all kinds of crazy cool things with your musical numbers. This is from production of The Drowsy Chaperone with St. Lawrence College that we just did. I'm in Canada, by the way. A lot of choreographers have been learning video editing and have been taking their choreography skills and applying them to this world. So you get these highly creative production numbers that can be created. So I'm just going to rewind for a little bit and show you that cut point one more time.
Well, why don't you? You don't say.
So that's like a cool creative way to do it. But this number, I want to show you, this is from Drowsy Chaperone, Show Off.
This is about
And this is entirely live. And this is over Zoom.
I don't want to show off no more. I don't want to sing tunes no more. I don't want to ride moons no more. I don't want to show off. I don't want to wear this no more. Play the saucy Swiss Miss no more. Blow my signature no more. I don't want to show off. Don't try to control me.
So we try to encourage people to like not only go for these post-production videos, like there's something thrilling about watching a person.
And that's it. I quit. I'm leaving it all behind. I don't want to be cute no more. Make the gentleman hoot no more. I don't want to wear fruit no more. I don't want to show off. She don't want to show off no more. Not me. You don't even want news no more. Page 3. Get the glowing reviews no more. Oh, gee, I don't want to show off. She don't want to show off. I don't want to show off.
Daniel?
Yeah, I'd love to answer some questions about this one. So
the first question somebody has is everybody in you don't have them in separate rooms, or are they in separate rooms?
So this is a girl and her roommate, and she's singing it live to a track playing on a speaker in the room. The track has had all the background vocals edited into it. that the actual cast of this production all recorded in isolation. And then we put that all into that track. So that's that cast singing. And then her roommate, who she's quarantined with, is throwing her all the props and all the things that she needs for the song and moving the camera around.
So you're saying, if I'm following all this, that sometimes you might need to do a combination of live and also pre-recorded, because you're saying the tracks were pre-recorded and the background vocals were pre-recorded, right?
Yes, that's where we pre-recorded the background vocals and the tracks. Here's a really cool video they made for the last number, and like you can get really creative and like make these.
And then what happened?
But they're not masked.
They're bubbled together. I want to show you how it goes back to live.
So
You just kissed a strange French girl on your wedding day.
So the director kind of helps you create these like moments of like how we get from one thing into another. And that show featured a lot of like really organic, like in-room performances. I just want to show you one other one really quick. This is a college that made a really cool investment, and they got everybody in the class green screens. And green screens sounds like it's really expensive, but it's like $100 on Amazon for a green screen and light kit. And look what you can make with it.
Come along. On your left, Washington Square, right in the heart of Greenwich Village.
My, what trees smell that air, painters and pigeons in Washington Square.
On your right, Waverly Place, bit of Bourrée in
So
Greenwich Village.
Daniel,
Yeah, sure.
questions. We're still not clear. Is everybody together in a room, or are the,
So
are
this
they...
was all shot in complete isolation and single takes.
That's what we need to know.
Yeah. And to answer your question, Mary, like, yeah, the colleges definitely got them the green screens and everything, but this is a stream stage show.
So I was confused before. Is there a way for people to sing live from different remote locations and to synchronize within 30 milliseconds?
Also, yes.
Okay, that's amazing.
But that's not happening in these videos are like post-production moment videos.
Can that be explained? I keep hearing the statement that you can synchronize. And is that saying that you have an internet connection which is just a few milliseconds fast?
Yeah, so Eric, the application Jamulus, and it's not just Jamulus, there's Jacktrip is one, Jam Kazam is another one. And they don't get it down to 0 milliseconds, like perfect synchronization, like you're in a room, but they can get it between like 15 and 40 milliseconds if you're on a strong internet connection and not Wi-Fi, if you're wired in with Ethernet. And once you're within that range, musical collaboration is possible up to certain tempos.
Okay, so tip number one, get everybody on an Ethernet connection. So one of the things that I'm planning to do in our benefit is making sure that before we cast anyone, they have the ability to use an Ethernet cable connection to their computer. Somebody who is a terrific actor who basically was planning on doing them video and shooting themselves on an iPad or even a phone. I think we have to say, I think we need something where they can actually hardwire themselves. Is that?
Anybody you want like working with especially if it's going to go live, definitely get wired into your internet. That's like step one for performers.
I mean, I know some people who don't have their computer in a place where they can actually put an Ethernet cable, although we can get a 20 foot cable if we need to.
I have like 275 foots running through my house since COVID.
So we would probably want to provide those for anybody who doesn't have them. But if somebody doesn't have a computer, how do you run an Ethernet cable? Can you run it from an iPad to a router?
I don't think those plug in, no.
So it can only be for a computer, really.
Yeah, and like
Ethernet adapter for
Yes.
Yeah, you can get adapters for Apple equipment as well.
Yeah.
Tech support is a really like individual client thing. Like you kind of, when we do these things, like we diagnose each person's internet, each person's microphone, each person's camera, each person's lighting. Like you get, everyone's building their own little stage in their house, and then you're making all those stages into one stage. That's the kind of where we got the name.
And that is why it's important when you want to do something like this, to put your production online, is that you need to have the technologist involved up front, because you'll need to make some decisions in terms of directing and how you find those points where you can do something cool, or find those points where you need to avoid, so you don't have the awkwardness that otherwise will have.
And something else that you said in chat that should be said actually to everybody. Some of these, what do you call Jamulus?
I would say like music collaboration software.
Okay, software. Okay, music collaboration software. Some of these softwares you need to have a server. So can you explain what that means? Or actually, Henry, you can probably explain that as well.
Oh, I don't know that you actually need to have it. I think when you pay for these services, you use someone else's server.
Well, that's what I mean. So you either have a server, or you have to pay for somebody else's
well,
server.
specifically with Jamulus, specifically, it's free for clients. So like if you want to like join a room, you can download the software for free and get it working and test it out. If you want to like host a room with a password, or like host a room that people can come and use, you need to set up a server that people can kind of come to. So you can set it up at home, or we've set up like a cloud server that's very fast.
Another assumption. Tell us what a server is. I mean, I know what a server is, but I don't know what it looks like. How do I get a server?
Client server stuff. Yeah. Like client server stuff is like network stuff. So like a server is like the computer where everything's hosted, and then clients are the different computers that connect to it. So like we are all clients right now dialing into this Zoom meeting, which is hosted on a server in the cloud.
It's
and
like
a server,
powerful computer that's probably hosting a number of conversations like this all at one time.
Yeah.
It's basically a hub.
A hub, you got it.
That's what it is.
And you can actually, I would think it's pretty expensive.
That depends, because you can rent them quite cheaply, actually.
You can rent a hub, okay.
Yep.
Yeah, so we rent one for our business.
Pulling this information out of you so people understand things what they need to do and what they can't do.
This is it. It's like we've taken months to figure this out, and we're learning every day. Like there's just always new stuff to learn. I was kind of thinking too, like I come to talks like this sometimes and I'm like, I'm using this, and people are like, that's old, we're using this. And I'm like, cool, like all the time. You know what I mean? Like, and we think we're pretty cutting edge with this, and we're learning new stuff every single day.
So Henry, let's move to you for a second. And tell us a little bit about what you do that is the same or different than what Daniel and Iben do. And also, you have a screen share. This is the day for screen shares. So, I mean, happy screen share
Well, it's the
day.
technologist panel, right?
Yes.
It's interesting. We don't intersect very deeply, but we're definitely all linked, But I am post-production only. And so when it comes, not that I've never worked in production, but in video and film, the distinction is whether or not you are on the set producing things to go into the process, or the set has already happened and audio has already happened. And that puts you in post-production. So there's only one other facet. Pre-production is another thing where people dream up the entire piece of work with artwork and what else, make previous stuff and share that to plan the project. So for me, I always get the stuff last. I always work at the last minute, which is lovely. And I make things from elements that already exist. So with regards, someone like me would make video backdrops that go behind your green screen shoot. And so while I work last, you're going to insert me, in with the production materials. Sometimes I might work first and use it live and project it behind someone. This is the way it used to work in theater.
So let's go back to that for a second so we can clarify this. So you're saying that you're given all the elements. You can, if everybody's using a green screen, you can impose backgrounds that were not there when they were shooting it.
Absolutely. That is what I do all day long. The sad part is, without a decent investment there, video backdrop replacement on like 60 people at once might be tough in a centralized location, but I'm not saying it can't be done. A Zoom conversation like this, a pre-produced green screen background video is legal tender on Zoom. You can have pre-produced video backgrounds between each one of our video squares. And with a green screen and using the green screen filter on Zoom, you get a pretty good replacement. So let's say, for instance, should I get your name right? Eben, is that right?
Iben.
So Iben has a virtual backdrop. I'll put one on myself here. And Bob has a virtual backdrop at the moment. And I would imagine your logo is an overlay, Daniel?
Yeah.
Let me see, I'll get my backdrop. Here's video says video backdrop, here we go. Now I'm wasting your time. I will get something important and memorable. Here we go. And so in this case, there's a lot of anomalies, a lot of artifacts here where my friends intersect my hat. And this is done with, I would probably best describe it as AI, I guess, that's deciding what is a head, what is an arm, what is a hand. And as soon as the rules of what a hand is start to get broken, then the hand just flat out can disappear. You can do some things with it that really just mask it to where it can go away. Weird stuff. You can step back from the camera. But with the green screen filter and the green screen behind you, it is procedural. And whatever's in front of the color green will come through. This is probably your better option, I think, if you're going to use Zoom. And that is to buy localized green screens, control your lighting, set that up for each of your people, and then get that higher quality thing that's done in real time, that it looks a lot better than this. Ask Gene Simmons, he'll tell you. So then I'll turn that back off because that's annoying. Those guys are trouble.
Yeah, I think that green screens are going to be like the next frontier in making virtual theater. We've actually pioneered a new technique to allow for exactly what Henry was talking about, compositing actors live from their own locations into like onto a live virtual stage at the same time. And we just did a show this way, and we recorded a lot of it, and we delivered it as a video. But we're really looking forward to doing a show fully live this way because the technology's there. And
this is the way to get all of your people in one place at one time, visually, that they all have a similar section of this set that's seen behind them. You know.
Yes.
Difficult.
And one of the problems that we are finding, I think, in Zoom performances lately, is that when people do put a green screen behind them with a virtual background, they don't look good together, that you can see it's the same image. Instead of saying, say, one big photo and cut it into the 4 pieces like we have right now, that we all have, you know, a corner of that photo.
What I did in the Google book was looping video, and we had the fireplace burned, the weather changed, birds in the distance, and just as many details as we could get in, all compositing tricks just to make it more real.
Can I show you a quick example of that?
Yeah, absolutely.
So these are all actors on Zoom using green screens that were flying onto a virtual background in real time. So they were in rehearsal for this show.
That's great.
And then we created these scenes with the backdrops. We used paintings for this show.
Are they in isolation again?
Isolation, yeah.
So they're all in isolation.
Their own homes.
These are all individual.
Watch this. So this is your green screen. You remove it and you drop your stage. And this can be done live. They could be like these people are all live in this moment right now, doing this together from their own homes. And like they were having fun in rehearsal, like creating little moments and working with the director.
Fun.
And then we created some little packages. But when you get the backgrounds moving and stuff, you can create lots of really cool features. It works great for close-ups. It works great for far away. Then you can like create lots of like fun little effects and like think outside the box. This is all done totally live.
And your actors are basically on Zoom and you're compositing them into something else?
Yes, miss.
Composites, but yeah, you're using something else.
Somebody started to say something. Was that you, Henry?
It was, yeah. The Zoom can do a simple 4 up or 5 up of your actors And then if you're running Zoom Pro, you can control the layout of who's where on screen, not accurately, not overlapping like what we just saw. But that's, you know, it's a good phase one to strive for. You could put people in the same virtual space logically. And that's a huge leap from everyone's living room and just it being thrown out there.
And we're not even scratching the surface. Like all the stuff there, they were the same perspective and the same scale. You can have some people close, some people far away. You can create street scenes. And then at the switching point, we've seen a lot of stuff where the actors are turning their cameras on and off to create the thing, but you can just like the producer just steps through the show and goes this scene, that scene, that scene, that scene, and the actors can just focus on that. And so we're doing a few projects next year like that, and we want to do more because it really cuts down on the editing time. That Wonderful Town show that I showed you was like beautiful. It was awesome. It was 2.5 hours long. There were 2 casts. So it was 5 hours of edited video. We had 3 weeks to do it, and my editor was in a puddle of tears trying to get the whole thing together. And we did it, and it was a great show. But this virtual stage stuff cuts down on post-production time and makes it cheaper for theaters, and it makes it more fun and live for the performers to be together.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So
I should have planned more like 3 hours for this discussion, because I feel like we've just touched the surface right now.
Oh, this is important discussion. Jessica and I have talked about this. We've seen some very high-end plays broadcast to many, many, many people, and we're not impressed technically with what was going on. You know, not that the play was bad or the performance was bad. There was amazing actors and great stories, but this is the lagging part right now. Sets, you know, have yet to really be launched into this.
So I basically want to actually jump in and state something that's maybe obvious to you guys. But when we're thinking about doing these things, we have to remember that there's 2 different backgrounds. There's the background within the frame, because each one of us can have a separate background, or we can have the same background. But there's also the background of the entire platform, the platform, Zoom.
I have another one.
You have another screen share?
I know. I never got around to actually scanning this one, so I wanted to show it, but it won't do it because I haven't got my green screen on.
So what I'm trying to say is that when we're thinking creatively, we can think in terms of within the frames how to frame each person, or we can also think in terms of the background. And the reason I bring this up is because I saw the production of The Humans from the Alney Theater in Maryland, and the Humans actually used as their overall background an actual model of the. I know even it's not coming through because
it's not.
Yeah,
That's all.
They used an actual model of their set, so their actors were in frames that were placed against an actual set design. And they actually moved the frames, so they did virtual blocking with the frames. Now this may seem a little primitive to you guys, but it was amazing to a lot of us who were watching it. We actually saw the actors moving. Admittedly, they were in a square, in a horizontal moving, but it gave us relative position. We could actually tell who's talking to who, and so it was a big step forward. So
love that. I love that. Like a couple of set designers that I know moved into like 3D animation and design and started building their sets in layers. And now you can put your sets in layers and have actors. In our wonderful town, we had a building and some actors were inside the windows and like popping their heads out of the windows and stuff. And I think getting 3D artists into this world, especially if they have a theater background, which like so many people as they leave theater are like specializing in these new forms. Let's get them back into theater and make these kind of new productions like with these ways. But you got to get the animators in there and the 3D artists in there for it to really light up.
That's what I have to show you today, but I figured it was relatively useless. I have some queued up.
Well, show it. Yeah,
let's see.
It's only fair. You should do a screen share too.
Don't screen share. Broadcast.
Oh, broadcast.
Start sharing screen with the participants. Okay, here we go. Got to pick one. All right, so yeah, I've got some character design. I'll find Flossie for you here. These guys are funny. So we're developing video for dentist to offices, which is interesting. And see if I can, there you are. Let's see if I can find Flossie here. My characters section. Here we go. These guys are hilarious.
What an adventure! We'll see you at Riccobeni Associates Family Dentistry. gentle, trusted.
Dental care.
Don't forget to floss.
What an
You gotta love that grin that won't go away.
what an adventure!
Uh-oh. Enough's enough.
What
Hey,
an adventure!
there
We'll
we
see.
go. So another
Flossie's a little aggressive, isn't he?
Flossie's in charge.
Yeah.
He's gonna rope something. This one's good. So this was live footage of a dog and then a lot of match moving. So you can use your computer to figure out the orientation of things and kind of map that out and then replace things or overlay them.
Hey, Duncan, what do you want for your birthday?
Well, I could use a good healthcare plan for my retirement.
Your retirement, you're 9.
Dog years, remember?
So it sounds like it looks more complicated than it is. All you have to do is make a fake mouth. I mean, it needs some fake fur. It's all been done. You know, you're not doing it for the first time. So it's time.
Oh,
time
yeah,
fun.
that's right. 65.
Yeah, I'm a little worried. Can't chase those cars like I used to.
Well, Duncan, I definitely recommend the good people at the Mayor Agency.
All right, I'll share it.
You also have a dog who's a very good actor. So
Good boy.
that was
He's a good
lucky.
boy.
That was lucky.
There was some food on the set, and that was all it took. Let's see. It's Donald Duck. Oh, all right. So then some other characters. These guys. So we're working on some stuff to sell to exterminators. So I love all our pet projects better than our work. And these are character 720s. 700.
I like pet projects for a dog and a termite. Those are good
nice.
pets.
Fun. Yeah. These are all running our previs stuff just to kind of get an idea of what these guys will be like. I've got more of those guys. So there's a fire ant, and these are. Oh, hold on.
So my question about this is, how many of us can afford that kind of animation? It seems like it would be very expensive for us to get somebody to do that.
I think expensive time-wise, it's more common than it used to be. Let's see if I can get my window back down here. It's up on my preview monitor, which has decided to sleep early. And I mean, what play needs a fire ant? I mean, I see. That's why I wonder, what am I worth for this? Building virtual sets, I really get that. I see that. And I think maybe virtual characters, maybe effects, what would be called special effects, or physical effects in person, maybe stuff like that. What did we see? We were at Disney and saw them do Elsa and Anna, and when she did magic, they projected the magical effects on the scrim in front of the characters as she cast the snow, and it was amazing and fun. It was definitely live. Mosquitoes. This is my life.
Okay, so
Right.
come back. We want to see the real person.
There we go.
Enough with the insects.
Exactly. There's a lot of bugs going on these days, but that's
That's
it.
life.
That's
Glad they weren't computer bugs. So Daniel is telling everybody that there are on Amazon kits. When you say a kit, you mean a green screen light and camera,
Yeah.
or green screen light and camera and mic? I mean, what's in a kit, or that varies?
The ones I've seen, like just a green screen kit and lights. And I don't mean to take away from anybody's business if they have like an option that they want to share or whatever. My point is that it's not. I thought it was really expensive to get a whole cast set up on that, and I was surprised how it's not. And it does a ton of work for getting these virtual shows to the next level. So I was just checking out the web around, and it looks awesome. I didn't know that existed. I'd love to order one if they ship to Canada.
those pop-up, they have the ones on the wire spring rims, like camping equipment. You fold them down 3 times and they make a reasonable size circle. You let them out and they just poof, pop out. And they have this interesting X-style stand that comes behind it. Maybe it has a couple extra arms. You can literally put up your green screen in 30 seconds. And it's not that deep. It needs 2 feet behind you. It's doable. I'm looking at pricing them now.
But don't forget sound too. Like shows have to have great sound. And it's really worth it if you're like a performer who wants to be in this medium. You're really useful to digital theater producers if you have your own stage really set up really well, which is like your green screen, maybe a softbox lighting. I'm working with a ring light right now. You can like see it in my glasses. We like softbox stuff better than that. and get a fantastic microphone. I mean, there's lots of great USB microphones you can get. They're going to be distance, dependent like this. I want to start playing with USB lavalier microphones. So like lavs that kind of go right here that wire in. I want to start playing with that. So you can get that kind of
lavalier microphones are, not that expensive really.
Just so everybody knows, a lavalier actually allows a performer to move around. So basically, a lot of us are used to thinking in terms of talking heads. We're talking now about an actor who actually sets up a stage for themselves in their home, so that you can actually see them moving full figure, and they can do blocking, and they go far, and they can come up close, and it's a lot. This flexibility is only possible if they have a mic that's moving with them, which is what a lavalier will do.
The problem about lavalier phones is when you want to have music as well, if you want to do, you need to have some planning on how you're going to do that, because lavaliers don't pick up background noise the same way background music is when you have a stationary mic or a directional mic. So it's all about planning, figuring out what do you want, what do you need.
So we're actually at 6:08. Normally, I would put people into breakout rooms. I just want to hold back on the breakout rooms because I think there's lots of questions. So people can come into the room now if you want, and you can ask questions directly. You can also use a virtual hand raise to let us know what you want to ask. We're trying to read questions in chat, but they're coming fast and furiously. So who has a question? Oh, good. So everybody understands this. So I want everybody to go off and do a brilliant virtual production of your show. No questions? Jessica, do you have a question? Do you want to ask your husband something? Maybe you don't get to talk to him enough at home.
I was going to say, it's nice to see you.
My husband.
Hey.
I just would like, I asked this in the chat, but I'd love to get a list of recommendations. One of the problems we've had with First Flight Theater is just, every actor comes differently prepared. Some come with decent mics, some are wearing earbuds, which are horrible for picking up their voices. And the same thing with backgrounds. Right now, we're not using virtual backgrounds. We're asking people to sit behind something that's just beige or white, and people are throwing sheets up at the last minute, and then their lighting is terrible too.
Well, it goes back to what we're saying.
You have to take it. You have to take it. You have to send it up, and you have to be very specific, saying this is what I want you to do. Same thing with costumes. You need to make sure that they actually plan this out. So, and that's it's like turning it around from what it used to be. All the things that you did at the last 2 weeks before you went into Tech Week, that's what you need to do up front. And then you can almost, basically do it live if you want.
That's exactly right. And before the show, we sound check the performers with their individual microphone and their track level. And it just becomes a lot more collaborative. The technical elements are individual and collaborative.
Yeah, because we basically all jumped into this so suddenly. I don't think we are getting used to thinking. We're just getting used to now thinking of this the same way we would think of a big production that we would do. I mean, we would basically be planning our production 3 months in advance. And we would be having conversations with our tech people, their costume designers. There's different kinds of conversations we have to have now, but it also requires a lot of time. So we really have to plan it far in advance.
Hey,
Judith,
can I record that for this producer that I'm working on this project who decided we should do this in 3 weeks?
No,
I wonder who that would.
I wonder who that would be. I don't want to do that.
It's talking about Bob.
I wonder who that would be. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not as any videos.
Honestly, Jessica, I've been trying to kickstart this thing for like 3 or 4 weeks now, and it's the time frame is tightening, and I know that. I also know that we may have to pick a different target date. Judith,
I love that we're doing something. It's good.
Judith, you had a question.
Yeah, when you're talking about movement, the ability to move and for the actors to move around, that would also, I am assuming, be determined by the size of each person's room. And so basically, if you want to hire somebody who is limited in space, you're out of luck as far as that is concerned. Is that correct?
You'll need to look at it. You'll need to look at what can you do, because obviously you'll need to go certain distance from the camera. But you can have actually fairly small cameras that will produce a decent quality video.
I mean, we had the last thing I did. One of the actors was not quite in a closet, but about that size.
So to speak.
That's tough. Yeah, in the city, that can be tough.
So I can show you, I have 2 cameras on my screen. I don't know how much you can see of me right now, but if I switch to my other webcam pro, you can see I actually get a lot more distance of the room, even though these 2 cameras are actually pretty much side by side in my space. This camera just gets me more, it gets me almost this whole room, whereas the camera that's on my laptop just gets a very small portion of my space. So what she just said about the camera can even make a big difference as to how much room you have.
Agree. I mean, and deciding as a theater company, are we going to pay? I mean, we just got started. Are we going to pay for this? We're going to supply to all of our actors who are all over the place. We don't do anything except our very first show where one actor was in the same room as another.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a personal decision. Yeah, but because you can argue that I don't want to hire anyone who don't have X, Y, and Z, or you can say, well, this person is so talented, and basically we really need this person because they embody that character. So you might have, let's say, some company-owned producing kits that you can lend out and then get it back, and
To be completely realistic about it, we just have to build in different things into the casting process than what we used to do. We actually need to know that the person we're casting can do what we need them to do.
Also, because when you're acting to a camera, it's different.
Totally
It's
different.
So different than when you're on stage, because there are just certain things that doesn't come across on camera the same way.
And Henry was trying to say something.
For Daniel, this is right on that topic. Is it possible to use that higher end product that you were using to like live edit about 10, 20 people and put backgrounds behind? Is it possible to use Portal or one of those turnkey solutions as a source? Because that comes in a box, plugs into the internet, and works.
Yeah, like whatever, those people were all on Zoom. So whatever gets you into Zoom, a cell phone. I mean, we did an event this summer. It was like a dance collaboration piece, and we had the choreographers introduce their own pieces, and like one of the choreographers showed up on Zoom holding a selfie up at her cottage, and like she's like, I just drove into town to get 5G to like shoot this little segment for you, and it was live, and we had no idea. And like, as long as you can get into the teleconferencing platform, you don't need like fancy tech and whatever. But yeah, if you need something from scratch, for sure Portal would work. I would recommend that your kit that you have your actors setting up on is your green screen, a softbox light, a microphone, and then something to figure out like a good quality camera. Like right here, I'm running a DSLR into my computer, but which is great. Like DSLRs are like, we can buy them for like $500 and like a lot of software. Oh, look, the battery just died. As he's bragging about it, this is my integrated camera on my laptop. I know, it's really terrible. It's a Lenovo. I don't look quite the same.
We have more questions. We have more questions. So Elizabeth Appel, and then Fran.
Okay, this is very interesting. Thank you so much. So Daniel, are you in Canada?
I'm in Toronto. Yeah.
You're in Toronto. Okay. So if I just for example, I have a full-length musical that I'm going to, I think, pare down into a cabaret production where we'll have different singers and some patter going through the music to tell the story. Green screens, but what about cost? Is this an expense? Like if I should hire you, could I get this show videoed so that I could use it, send it to different producers? Maybe it could be streamed onto I don't know, YouTube or another channel?
Well, those are two different goals. You may want to think that through, but the question still remains, Daniel. How affordable is all this?
Yeah, totally. Like, we charge money to produce a show. We're Canadian, and the dollar has never been better for you Americans. So we're doing our first American regional theater production. We've done 22 productions since August, but we're doing our first one with Coeur d'Alene Summer Theater, which is really cool. We spec out the show. So if there's going to be a lot of those like moving mosaic musical numbers, like those cost more than like a lot of solos where you play a thing in the background, right? So we just got to figure out how many hours of editing is into your show. We push people now to be like, do it live. So then our job is more like consulting with you before you start rehearsals, visiting you during rehearsals a few times, and then you move into the theater, which is like us, and then we kind of take you the rest of the way. So it ends up just being like a couple of days of us when the production goes, but they're all completely individual. Some of the stuff I showed you right now, the show cost $25,000 Canadian. Some of the stuff I showed you, the show cost $3,000 Canadian. It just depends on how much editing and post-production goes into the project.
Francisco.
What a great show. I got a question for Daniel, or the others too. I'm in the beginning stages of planning a production of a play I've written. It'll be a combination of solo work plus some live acting, but part of it will be pre-recorded. I have about 15 scenes that have been acted out in various ensemble groups and acting meetings and stuff. And because of COVID, I wasn't planning to use that in a production. I was planning to do it live, but because I have all that pre-recorded, here's my question is, can I take that pre-recorded tape and zoom in? Let's say it was a scene with 4 characters and it was flat, with the 4 characters in a black box on a stage. Can I take another camera and zoom, or in post someplace, zoom in on, say, 2 of those 4 characters talking to one another?
That depends on what you mean by that. Do you mean you want it done in post-production, or do you want it
in post? I want to take I have this recording of these 15 scenes, say, and I want to use them, but I don't want to just pull in a scene as it's currently recorded. I want to be more dynamic, sort of like a Ken Burns effect.
Yeah, you can always do stuff like that in editing. The question becomes then, how good is the raw film you have? Because if it's really bad quality, then by you suddenly reducing the size of what you're looking at to, or blowing it up, so to see, 200%, that's really what you're doing by reducing the size.
Okay.
Then it might not be good enough. It won't stand up well against the other one. So it becomes an aesthetic. It becomes a choice you'll have to make as the editor. I'm sure Henry will know a lot about that.
I think Daniel...
Sometimes you're not getting enough.
I think Daniel said earlier that we're at a point where it is possible to actually have a combination of live and pre-recorded that is so integrated and so smooth that the audience experience is that the whole thing is live, really.
Yeah.
They stop caring and they just watch the show.
But the thing is, it has to be high quality, Fran.
Okay.
Otherwise, you really are having that disconnect between the live being in one world and then the pre-recorded stuff being in a very different world.
I thought maybe the way I could transition is sort of like a dreamy sequence, sort of maybe Glass Menagerie, that I become the actor that goes on the scene of these pre-recorded scenes. That if they're not as high quality as me live, it becomes somewhat forgiven.
It depends again.
We're in the weeds. We're now in the weeds.
Yeah. Right.
So basically, the answer to what your question is that a lot can be done in post production, and if the video quality isn't as high as it needs to be, yes, there's all sorts of tricks and magic that you can do in post production.
Okay.
Some of them might work, and some of them might not, but you can try.
Okay. Thank you.
Eric Sirota. Eric Sirota.
Well, the question I had was sort of related to, is this good for a writer, creating something to show producers as opposed to a regional theater making a production for their.
I have a
fund-
feeling. I have a sense about that. What we're talking about is creating a virtual presentation that is not necessarily simulating a live performance. As much as we're saying that people will feel like it's live, there's certain things that happen in a live performance that don't happen here. I would be careful not to go so far with post production that your thing starts looking like your production starts looking like a film, and then producers who are looking at it have a harder time thinking of it as live theater. So I'm not sure that you need to go to those extremes. I don't know that there may be other thoughts on that.
You know, it was about I was asking regarding to budget. Like, is it a budget for a theater company that has a budget to do a production, or for a writer who is trying to do something to pitch the producer? Like one question was asked, and which probably a lot of people are interested in because they don't actually have theater companies.
I'll speak to that because I'm also a writer and I'm a BMI composer and lyricist, and you know, the quality of your materials is, I've always believed, is not as important as the quality of the material. And I think if you have a good calling card for your show, then that's great. But we've all been that writer who's tried to overproduce our early drafts of stuff that then ends up just casting a light on all the unfinished parts of the show. So I've had some new composers come to me and go like, let's make a super slick, expensive thing of my musical. And you know, as much as we love the work, I'm always like, you know, focus on the show and the writing and whatever. That being said, like sometimes it's good to have a nice material package of your show. So you got to make that call. Money is super relative, isn't it? Because like what's a lot of money to me isn't a lot of money to you. Some people talk to me in money that I'm like, what are you talking about? That's so much money, but it's not a lot of money to them. So it's hard to establish a baseline for that.
So one thing that Mary Miko had said earlier I'll just bring it up for a moment. One of the things that we can't recreate on virtual is the audience response. Do you have any suggestions or any ideas, or have you done anything that gives the audience a little bit more of a feeling of being participating in an experience, and also helps the actors understand whether they're communicating or not, so they don't get the feedback? They're not getting feedback from the audience.
I can speak to that. I think in like a proscenium musical, it's definitely hard. You don't get the applause after the number. Sorry, like we haven't really figured that out. For like, we do a lot of like multi-camera cabaret concert, one-person show stuff, and we try to encourage the artist to like build in the chat and like talking to the audience. We've done song requests, and we've done you know, asking questions about their personal life and them answering in the chat, but that can be distracting in the show. Next year, we're going to have a show where we're going to be live broadcasting from a rehearsal room studio and to an audience gathered in a theater, socially distanced, broadcasting on a projector and a screen with a camera and microphone on the audience, and the performer monitoring the audience on a monitor and hearing the applause after the number with a 12-second delay.
That's great.
And meanwhile, until we can get that, or until you have that equipment so you can do that, then it really is that it's an empty space. You can have some audio, you can have, you know, loudspeakers where you can actually hear the audio, and you can put up do it two-way by having a laptop, say, where you can have people attending, being audience via Zoom. But again, you can't hear the whole, you know, getting the applause or any of that, because the technology is not quite there yet for that.
And Mary, I want to also say to you that I saw the Goodspeed virtual benefit, and it was terrific. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And as an audience member, I was completely satisfied. I was happy. Now, I know from the actor's point of view, they're frustrated because they're not getting feedback. But they performed as if they were getting the feedback. And it made some magic. It really made some magic.
So on that topic, it's not long before augmented reality finally comes out, and it's big companies have tripped and fallen on this problem. Microsoft had goggles that were to ship with Windows 10s. Anyone remember this? And it was going to be an augmented reality operating system, and they just couldn't make it work. The latency there, was a killer. But I only mention it not to get in the details, but it is definitely a technology that is made for theater. It is that thing that puts you in a place that you are not, a virtual place. And at that point in time, as soon as you can put your actors in the same stage again, then people can experience it with VR. And it's going to be, you're going to be the next killer app because you're live.
I agree. I agree. Yeah, Henry. So true.
Yep.
And you can then suddenly open up with the audience all around the world.
Absolutely.
And on demand.
To struggle with video now and to try and struggle through these things now and make something, and to keep the live aspect alive and keep those things about live that are worth viewing over Netflix, over pre-recorded stuff. That because then when AR comes and people can stand among you on the stage, they're going to go nuts. It's going to be amazing.
Well, I'm going to have to end us at this point because we're 27 minutes past the time that I was expecting to end. But I want to thank you. I want to thank Iben, Daniel, and Henry. This was an exceptional conversation. I think we can do this again. I think there's more to talk about. There's more to explore. There's more to learn about this, and hopefully maybe I'll get you back in January or February. As everybody knows, next week we're doing a different kind of community gathering. We're doing a viewing party and fundraiser, emphasis on fundraiser of the new musical Estella Scrooge. I'm asking all of you to please join the viewing party. True only gets 30% of the ticket price, but we do get 30% of it. And we're really looking for ways to bring in money at the end of the year. We're facing the end of the year with a pretty substantial financial loss. We're gonna be in the hole maybe $10,000 or $12,000, which isn't going to really paralyze us by any means. We're fine. We have ways of getting through that, but we're not doing a benefit this year, this end of year. We usually do a benefit that brings in $20,000 to $30,000. We don't have that, so show your support and come have fun. Hopefully, Estella Scrooge is going to be amazing, and we'll all have a great time. The viewing party, just so you know in advance, we're going to get together in Zoom, in my Zoom room first. Then we're all going to go and watch the show on streamingmusicals.com. And then we're going to come back to the Zoom room to talk. And I do have Michael Alden and I do have Tom Pullum who are going to come and tell you a little bit about the making of Estella Scrooge and some of the techniques that they used. And they'll be able to answer your questions as well. So I think that's it. I think this is where I'm going to end the YouTube broadcast.